Take 3. The first one I mucked up. The second take, I did a joke that was so bad, even I thought it wasn't worthy of being inside this video. And I'll put any old crap in these videos, let's be honest with you. But it was a bad joke, really. It was about Genk and Ghent, or it doesn't matter. We're playing Genk. That's the important thing. Tonight, important game. Big game for West Ham, really, because 9 points after 3 games would be huge. If you just rewind back a little bit, at that point where we thought we were hoping we're going to qualify for Europe, we get to the point where we actually do qualify for Europe. If at that point you'd have said, because we're West Ham fans, we naturally have a bit of pessimism about us, don't we? If you'd have said at that point, what we're going to do is we're going to get 9 points in the first 3 games and be whatever we are, 5th, 6th in the league, whatever it might be, you'd have taken that. I mean, you really would have done. So we need to get those 3 points to make it 9 points, but that has us not quite home and hosed, but really allows David Moyes to almost play who he wants in the final 3 games and know that if he picks up, one more win out of the 3, it's all good anyway. Interesting. I tell you what, good day in the Gonzo household. Got to say, I'm taking my daughter to her first ever game, not against Genk. I keep having to check, not against Genk, but against Tottenham on Sunday. I'm really excited. She's really excited, by the way. My son's coming as well. She's 7, so it's her first game. So she's already decided she's a West Ham fan. You don't get a choice in my house. But 7's quite late for me to indoctrinate and force my children into supporting West Ham, or at least taking them to the first games. I do think with children, once you've taken them to the first game and they've seen the stadium and heard the song and seen the players running around on the pitch and just you've got to remember what it's like as a child when you see a massive football stadium for the first time. It's really something, isn't it? So I think it's important. Once you get them there, you've got them hooked. Before that, I would have taken them before 7, but it just shows you, what a massive impact COVID had, really. That it's actually quite late for her to go to her first game. And funny enough, I was looking at it here. So here's my big girl, basically. She's 14 now. Now, she's a lot younger than 7 there when I took her to her first game. What a great day that was, by the way. So anyway, so we're really looking forward to that. That's massive in our house. So yes, Tottenham Sunday, and I'm sure we'll do a little video afterwards, and we'll see how much they enjoyed it. Hopefully they do enjoy it. Although she has already asked me. She said, "Daddy, how many goals will West Ham win by?" So I told her, "Watch the review, love, like everybody else." Do you know what I mean? Anyway, a couple of little things I wanted to just talk about quickly before. I meant to talk about it yesterday's video, but I completely forgot. And it was that we've... well, first of all, there's a bit of news about David Sullivan, as you'll see from the headline in the video itself. I did want to talk about Kai Corbett. Now, we've released him. Now, Kai Corbett, for those of you that don't know, if you watch these videos regularly, then I've mentioned this kid loads and loads of times. We released him. I had no idea. And now thinking back, someone mentioned it in one of the comments on one of the videos, but I thought it was sort of a joke anyway. He was the best young player I've seen in quite some time. He reminded me, I'm not talking about the diving, I know everyone gets on Jack Grealish's back, he dives a lot, he does dive a lot, Jack Grealish, I understand that, right? But take away the diving, the way he travels with the ball, he sort of glides over the football pitch, doesn't he? Corbett was like that, but a bit quicker. Had a good goal scoring record as well for the youth teams. I don't understand why we let him go. I don't know. Sorry, I got something in my eye. It's that fly again. It's that fly getting its revenge after I squished it. So it looks like Kai Corbett's going to go to Southampton's academy. I don't know. Look, maybe I'm missing a trick here. But a really wonderful footballer, very much in the sort of traditional West Ham mould. I was absolutely gobsmacked. He sort of went from every club wanting him, and us. I mean, Man United wanted him, Chelsea wanted him, and we really had to. Do you remember Oscar Borg? Actually, whatever happened to Oscar Borg? Anyway, I think there was a bit of a ceremony. The fact that we got Kai Corbett to sign a contract with us and turn down Man United, turn down Chelsea. So why we've released him, I've no idea at all. Just I found it a bit weird. I was a bit surprised. Anyway, maybe people will know better than I will, but I thought he was a very good player, clearly. The other thing, it sort of escaped. I found this dropped out the news. Was never really in the news, but it was an article, and it was an article about David Sullivan. And I guess there was a lot going on, Everton game and lots of different bits and pieces. And it was basically David Sullivan doesn't want to sell West Ham, as you'll see from the title. And I thought, wow, how has this basically missed the news? How has everybody sort of skimmed over that and not, unless somebody has done an in-depth article on it or anything like that, or a video if they have missed it. But it was there in the footnotes of everything, this little interview. And it's basically, it goes on, it talks about Pi Capital in one, to one extent or another. It talks about the £400 million bid. It's talks about whether there was or whether there wasn't a second bid. Now, it was always really the suggestion that Sullivan didn't want to sell. Gold and Sullivan, let's say Gold and Sullivan didn't want to sell. However, if somebody mega rich came in, they would step aside. They understood that they were custodians of the club. They felt that they were doing a better job than most now, but if somebody mega rich came along, they'd step aside and say, fair enough, you got more money than us. That's absolutely fine. So I think very much the suggestion was with Pi Capital coming in, it was a case of, well, Pi Capital are not these people. They're not these mega rich people. In fact, not only have they've got far less money than us, they don't seem to have much money at all. I think that was the suggestion there. This is not a proper takeover bid. This is more of a property deal. You heard all of these things being said. So I think it sort of got brushed aside a little bit. It wasn't that Sullivan wouldn't sell. It wasn't that West Ham weren't for sale. It was just that these people that were trying to buy West Ham, this consortium, were not credible. Not credible at all. So is it really any surprise? I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised. But it's come out that actually doesn't want to sell at all to anybody under any circumstances. What he wants to do is hand the club to his children, Jack and David. As you'll know, now both are involved in the club in one capacity or another. As if you watched the BBC, was it on BBC Three, BBC iPlayer, something like that. Jack was in a documentary, I think it was possibly called Britain's Youngest Football Boss. Might have that slightly wrong. Jack was in charge of the ladies' team for some time, and you sort of got the impression he was learning his apprenticeship. So it shouldn't come as any massive surprise that I guess Sullivan would groom his son to take his place as chairman, or whatever the case may be. It still comes a little bit of a shock reading it. It has to be said, because I think that there's certainly always in the back of my mind that hopefully some billionaire benefactor would come along and take over West Ham at some point. That being said, I don't just mean any billionaire benefactor. If you've watched my Newcastle videos, not interested. Honestly, I wouldn't bother. It's got to be the right people. But certainly the indication is that he wants to hand it down to his children. Now, this is an interesting thing. I find this an interesting dynamic because it's just at the point where Sullivan started to take more of a hands-off role anyway with the club. If you remember, when Mike used to do his Mike on Monday videos, he coined the phrase that Sullivan's the dictator of football at West Ham. And what Mike was saying was that Sullivan was doing everything. Sullivan wanted to buy the players, not even negotiate the deals, but Sullivan wanted to pick the players, highlight the players. Sullivan, some of you will remember Ron Nodes, who was the chairman at Crystal Palace, who even at one point installed himself as manager. Yes, it actually happened. And you got the impression Sullivan wanted to do everything. It was his plaything. So I always thought it was a hell of a thing for Sullivan to gradually, basically cut the apron strings, really. So Moyes came in, particularly when Moyes came in on the second stint. Moyes was there to say, look, I don't want you having this involvement. I don't want you to buy me players. I want to have more involvement in the purchasing of players. I think Sullivan had to agree to it, really. I think by the time Moyes had kept us up for the second time, and Moyes was about to sign his new contract, which he just signed just before the start of this season, the power balance of the relationship has shifted. The power balance is all with David Moyes at that point. So I think David Moyes was actually able to say, actually, it's not just the picking the players. I'm going to stay here and make this my project. And who wouldn't, let's be fair, want David Moyes, if you're at a club at West Ham size, I want David Moyes to run a project at West Ham. You do. David Moyes was able to say, well, actually, I want to deal with the scouting, I want the medical department, I want an upgrade on the training ground, which has been approved, apparently. Planning permission been approved for an additional building at the training ground. I'd like to know more about it, actually. I wish the club would release a little bit more on that. David Moyes has gradually got his fingerprints all over West Ham, and to the point where you've now got a director of recruitment. So you look at it and you think, what is Sullivan actually doing now at the club? And I don't mind that, by the way. I think it's good. I think you should delegate. I think you should get experts in certain areas. And I always thought it was going to be hard for Sullivan to keep his hands off and think, okay. So I don't know how Sullivan's really passing his time at the moment. Really, it's going to be. I guess it's probably quite difficult for him if you've been hands on in that respect. But he's done it. It's the right thing to do, and it's the right thing to do for West Ham. So I find it. I guess I sort of allowed myself to believe that it was part of the transition into him. I don't know, just relinquishing whatever control he had. Eventually, somebody would come in. I think possibly brokered by Trip Smith, and we'd eventually get sold. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And I've often thought, particularly these people, rich, very, very rich business people. A lot of people, you and I, have said this a number of times. If we got 10 million quid, if we got 10 million pounds in the bank, I mean, that would be it. That would be me. That would be me done. I'd have the house in Sandbanks. I'd be actually I probably wouldn't for 10 million quid. Probably a little bit more, but whatever. The point of the matter is, if I had 10 million quid, I'd have a lovely house, I'd have lovely holidays. I'd be enjoying life. There's something about an entrepreneur. There's something about the buzz for the deal that makes them turn that 10 million into 20 million, the 20 million into 100 million, the 100 million into a billion. So I just always assumed if somebody were to give David Sullivan a healthy return on his investment, I mean, let's be fair, I think himself and Gold initially put in 50 million. Now, I know they've put in more since then, but if someone were to come along and offer 650 million, I just always assumed that the businessman in David Sullivan wouldn't be able to resist that deal. That's a hell of a markup, right? That's a hell of a profit. But I look at it now and I think, well, maybe he's not. Maybe he is not. Maybe he is going to hand the reins over to his kids. And, you know, I mean, this is not... It's easy to... I said before, we don't notice small changes. Obviously, I guess it's easy to look at Jack Sullivan and still remember him as a 14, 15-year-old kid, but he's... I was going to say he's probably not anymore. He definitely isn't anymore, because that's what happens when you age. You get older. So I don't know how old he is, but I'm sure he might be 21, 22. Honestly, time flies, doesn't it? Let's be honest. Sullivan's not getting any younger. Again, that's something that doesn't happen. You get older as time goes by. So I think Sullivan's I don't know. He's certainly his late 60s, probably possibly approaching early 70s. Still young in today's terms, actually. But you know what? I just wonder. I think, well, actually, if you're not doing the deals, if you're not buying the players, you're not doing any of these things you love, he's obviously filling his time doing something else. So maybe, just maybe, that is it. I've remembered the I think it was a documentary. Walked past his swimming pool, and somebody in the documentary asked about his swimming pool, and Sullivan said something like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't even go in it." I'm telling you, if I had a swimming pool in a mansion, you wouldn't get me out of the pool. You know, but Peter would be where are you? I'd have to. Honestly, I'd be like Del Boy if Del Boy got into money. That would be me. I'd be mostly floating around in the pool with my lilos and my drinks and I'd probably have a little floating barbecue or some little floating TV. Not too much voltage running for it. Otherwise, if I fell in the water and the TV at the same time, it could get nasty. Anyway, doesn't matter. My point in the matter is, I wonder if he's now enjoying his money. What's the point of being a billionaire if you're not going to enjoy it? So. I think the thing is, I now believe him. I actually think, do you know what? I think he's going to hang on to the club. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'll be interested to know what you think about it. Not too much, because we've got a game tonight, but I just thought it was an interesting article that sort of slipped under the radar a bit.